Hello there! If you've been following me for a while, then you know that I have a fan game I've been working on called Star Wars Diamond Company. I've been hinting at, and in some cases outright saying, that I have big things going on for this game in the works. Now, as of when this video comes out, those big things have not come to fruition yet. However, in this video I will be going over not only these plans, but also what Star Wars Diamond Company is, for both those who've been keeping along with this project and those who are new. I emphasize both new and old because Star Wars Diamond Company has been making a lot of changes behind the scenes and now it's not quite what everyone originally thought. Now, don't worry, most of these changes aren't anything massive, but it's still good to mention and keep you all in the know. Some of this will sound familiar to those who have stuck around, while some of it will sound new. But before we get into that, let's do a quick rundown for newcomers before getting into the details. Star Wars Diamond Company is a first-person shooter set during the last few days of the Clone Wars. You play as a clone trooper and use a variety of weapons to fight battle droids of all kinds and a slew of missions. Told you it was going to be a quick rundown, but with all that being said, let's get right into it. First thing I want to do is officially announce that Star Wars Diamond Company is going to be made in the Godot engine rather than Turbo Warp, a mod for the Scratch coding engine. This is for many reasons, but the main reason is that while Star Wars Diamond Company running on Scratch was really cool and impressive, as is any 3D game in Scratch, it was really tedious and restricted my vision for the game. With the move to Godot, I could properly and more easily make the game that I envisioned for so long. This will also give me more experience with real game engines and push me to improve my game dev skills. One of the classes I took this last semester was a 3D modeling class, and with the skills I learned from that class, I went ahead and made a DC-17 model like what will appear in the game. I learned even more when making that model, and in doing so felt much more accomplished and satisfied than when I was making models for the Scratch version of Star Wars Diamond Company. Making this game in Scratch kept me stuck in the past and incapable of actually moving on. Now let's go over the story, as it's had the least amount of change as compared to the other aspects of the game. Just like before, the main story will be centered around a rookie clone trooper shipped out to fight in the 438th Armored Battalion's Diamond Company on the planet Scarif. As you're given a tour of your ship your unit is stationed on, a fleet of separatist ships attack and you are split up from your squad. Your task is finding your squad and helping push back the separatist forces. That's all I'll share on that end, as I don't want to spoil the story. Now, those of you with keen ears will notice I just said "on that end" in regards to the story. That is because this is only half the story. I've taken inspiration from the older Call of Duty games, namely Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, in particular with the dual perspective story. When I first played COD 4, I absolutely loved the idea of having two characters fighting in different conflicts, merging their stories into one. So, just like how COD 4 had you play as both Soap of the British SAS and Private Jackson of the US Marines, in Star Wars Diamond Company you'll play as two different clone troopers. The first soldier is of course the rookie, and the other one is, well, to be determined. Those of you who watched my last Star Wars Diamond Company video are already familiar with all this, as the second clone will be made by you, the viewer. The contest I announced during May the 4th of this year will determine who the second clone is. So if that interests you, go watch that video after this one to find out how to get involved. The link will be in the description. So while the clone's name and design are not decided as of now, there are some parts that are decided. First is the clone is part of the 231st Assault Corps' Mythosaur Company, and he's a corporal. This clone and his unit are stationed on the planet of Umbara. Those of you who are fans of Star Wars The Clone Wars will immediately recognize this name. Umbara is a planet that many describe as the Star Wars equivalent to the real-world Vietnam War. The Umbara episodes of the Clone Wars portray a dark, mysterious world full of enemy soldiers that use guerrilla warfare. Due to this, I imagine that despite the game taking place after Umbara is put under Republic control, the Umbaran people kept fighting as insurgents. So I decided to take inspiration from things such as the Vietnam War, but also inspiration from the Iraq War. That later inspiration is where I got the idea to take the Umbara storyline in a direction very much like the show Generation Kill. In this story, like the show, you follow along a relatively small unit as compared to the Scarif storyline, which is large all-out war. Your character will go from villages to hidden bases and other locations to snuff out the resistance, sometimes in ways that call to question the true nature of the Republic and show the gray area not often shown in the Clone Wars era. Now with the story out of the way, let's move on to the gameplay. The gameplay of Star Wars Diamond Company is essentially the same as before. The game will have grounded movement with the addition of a slide mechanic to allow for more dynamic cover-to-cover combat. This is because a lot of Star Wars Diamond Company's combat will be in tight spaces, so you won't really want to stand out in the open. You'll be using many types of weapons from the Clone Wars era like the DC-17, DC-15S, E5, E5S, the Scattergun, and more. Some of these weapons will have secondary features such as an underbarrel grenade launcher on the DC-15S. Others will have special features such as the E5, which packs a punch but has a heat counter alongside the ammo. Once the E5's heat reaches max, it overheats, causing it to be unusable for a few seconds. The player will only have room to hold 2 weapons at a time, so you'll need to choose which weapons you bring wisely. The enemies you fight will also be just as varied, with enemy types such as the simple and easy to kill B1 battle droids to the big and bulky super battle droids, as well as special enemy types such as the sniper B1, the commando droid, and more. The AI mechanics of enemies will vary depending on the specific enemy. However, in general, the easier enemies will try to rush you and get you out of cover to keep you from hiding one place. And the more complex enemies will use tactics similar to the player, like hiding behind cover, peeking, etc. Now, onto the art and music. The art and music has technically had the least amount of changes as compared to the other aspects of the game. The latest gameplay videos I did is essentially how I want it to be. However, with the art, it will of course be in 3D due to the move to Godot. But I also want to go even further with the gritty tactical designs. Some examples are the B1 droids being more rusted and grey looking like their appearance in Star Wars Republic Commando. However, I won't be going that far, and they'll still look much like their appearance in the movies. For the clones, I'm going for a more tactical design like I mentioned before, but again, like with the droids, I'm not going to go too far with it. That's essentially how I'm going to go about with the art style, adding a gritty militaristic view onto the familiar Star Wars world, just like Republic Commando did it almost 20 years ago. The music of Star Wars Diamond Company will be mostly normal Star Wars music from different sources, however I have put a couple tracks from other series that fit in the game that I can hide. If you want to listen to the music that will be in the game, you can check the playlist linked in the description below. Last thing to mention is that I've officially made a Discord server for Star Wars Diamond Company. For the last few years now, everything related to my game has been shared from multiple sources like GameJolt, YouTube, and random Discord servers. But now I have a centralized place where I can share everything for Star Wars Diamond Company. It'll also be a place where you all can discuss Star Wars Diamond Company, asking questions, theorizing, or just talking about Star Wars in general. The Clone Trooper contest will also be moving there. And by the time this video comes out, I've already changed the Discord link on the contest video. So if you want to stay in the loop, check out the server. And with all that said, that's everything I got to show for now. I'm hoping to get one more video out before Christmas, and if that doesn't come out, then it should be out by New Year's, but regardless, I hope you all enjoy the video, have a Merry Christmas, and have a Happy New Year. I'll see you all later.